Hey there. Today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about how the macro environment out there can have a massive impact on the operations of your business, but also what your business is ultimately worth. We're talking to a lot of different business owners in different sectors. And one of the questions that got posed to me just recently was, with all this stuff that's in the news, well, how does that even affect me? And it was a really good question because it just sort of reminded me that, really it's not about the size of your boat, it's the size of the wave in the ocean, that actually drives most of the stuff that are going on and really how our business is going to perform. So let's talk about a few of the big macro events that are happening at the moment and just how this could impact your business and certainly why you should be thinking about planning and certainly considering these things so that you've got some backup plans and alternative options up your sleeve should things not work out as you expect them. So one of the first things let's talk about is supply chain, right? The supply chain shortages and risks out there. I think Australia's been fairly well cushioned from a lot of the stuff going on in the world. Sure, your latest Amazon delivery might have taken a couple of days longer, or that item off eBay took a few more weeks. But fundamentally, I think Australia's been pretty solid. But as these events globally start to stack up, they tend to have a bit of a long tail impact, and Australia does usually get hit at some point. So look at Los Angeles as one of the examples. I think this time last year, they had about half a dozen ships off the coast, waiting to dock and unload. As of last week, there was over 70. And by the way, the Los Angeles port accounts for about 31% of trade coming into the US, so it's a big deal. These ships are backed up not just because of the over demand of goods coming into the country, but there's strains on the actual port logistics. Frankly, there's a lack of truck drivers to deliver everything, so it's causing this backup event, which is then having a flow-on effect to other people's businesses. So, can that impact other countries? Absolutely. What's happening in Japan? I mean, automakers have slashed production because they can't get their hands on enough microchips to build or finish off the cars. Most people don't realize that the average car these days has something like 2 or 3 dozen microchips. So it's a pretty big input, if you want all your safety equipment to work. China, the obvious panda in the room. I mean, look, they're suffering from a massive energy crisis at the moment. Some of this is from their own sort of creation. I mean, they have a coal shortage, which is impacting power plants. Now, let's be honest, their coal shortage is self-inflicted because they're trying to punish Australia at the moment. And, they've had ships full of coal sitting off their shores for some time that they're kind of playing silly buggers with. So, that one they can own themselves as a bit of an own goal, if you will. But there is a knock-on effect, of course. They're having a diesel shortage now, and so diesel generators and demand for those areas have really picked up and causing a knock-on effect. Of course, the other issue with China that a lot of people are talking about is the potential default or collapse of their property developers, particularly Evergrande, which is the largest. One of my clients said to me yesterday, but how does that affect my business? They're a Chinese property development company. Well, if they collapse, it's also looking likely that other developers in China will collapse. There's billions and billions of dollars worth of debt that will go unpaid. Often this will have a knock-on effect to see capital markets dry up and constrict. That means there's less money to lend. That means less property activities in other areas. This very much has a flow-on effect to Australia. I think if you see Evergrande collapse, and a lot of people I'm sort of talking to expect that to happen prior to Christmas, I think you can see that having quite a big impact eventually on the Australian sentiment and certainly confidence around property markets. So, if you have a business that's dependent on property in Australia doing well, you may find yourself turning a corner that you maybe didn't expect to. So, how can you factor that into your thinking and into your strategic planning? And of course, finally, the last big elephant in the room, if you will, is of course COVID. I mean, Australia, is hitting awesome vaccination rates. I mean, New South Wales is now over 90%. But at the end of the day, what we are seeing from places like the UK is that vaccination or high-level vaccinations is not the end of the road. They're seeing massive spikes in cases. We are going to see new variants come through. So I think keeping a close eye on the UK and the US as they go into winter now, how they deal with that as an issue is going to be important. It's certainly going to give us insights into how Australia can respond. But this thing is not going away. And I think anybody you speak to, or most people I speak to, recognize that, not only is it not going away, I mean, it's just there is a new norm. The world has changed forever, and we're going to continue to see this having impacts in our businesses and in our lives for the next couple of years. So start to think about that, start to factor that into how you are strategically planning your business, how you're running your business, and ultimately give thought to how that plays out into the company and business valuation. Because the timing of you going to market when you're trying to sell has a massive impact on the outcome. Hopefully that's been a help. Good luck. Reach out if you need anything.